Good morning and welcome to the City Planning Commission public hearing. And Madam Secretary, please begin.
Good morning. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street. Today is Wednesday, March 9, 2016. As a courtesy during the proceedings, we ask that you please turn off all cell phones and beepers. All speakers should fill out a speaker's card at the desk outside of Spector Hall. In addition, we ask that those providing testimony please identify yourself, limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and speak clearly into the microphone. I will now call the roll. Chairman Weisbrod.
Here.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Here.
Commissioner Besser.
Here.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Here.
Commissioner Delaus.
Here.
Commissioner Dweck.
Here.
Commissioner Edie.
Here.
Commissioner Efron.
Here.
Commissioner Knight.
Here.
Commissioner Levin. Commissioner Marin.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of Wednesday, February 24, 2016.
On the minutes, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Madam Secretary, the minutes are approved.
Scheduling on calendar numbers 1 through 4 and supplemental calendar number 1, we have resolutions for adoption scheduling Wednesday, March 30th, 2016 for a public hearing to be held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street.
On the resolutions, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Are there any abstentions or any objections? Hearing none, the resolutions are approved.
The next part of the calendar is a report section on page 6. Borough of the Bronx, calendar numbers 5 and 6. Calendar number 5, CD8, N160094, ZAX. Calendar number 6, N160095, ZAX. In the matter of applications for the grant of authorizations concerning Galadia Avenue residents for adoption on calendar numbers 5 and 6. Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delaus.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar numbers 5 and 6 have been adopted. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 7, CD1, N160172, PXM, in the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space for use of property located at 233 Broadway. For a favorable report on calendar number 7, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delaus.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 7. Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 8, CD1, N160173, PXM, in the matter of a notice of intent to acquire office space for use of property located at 33 Whitehall Street. For a favorable report on calendar number 8, Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delaus.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 8. Borough of Queens, calendar number 9, CDs 10, 12, and 13. C160097 PPQ. In the matter of an application for the disposition of a lease concerning TWA Flight Center Hotel. For a favorable report on calendar number 9, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes, and just let me say it's hard to imagine a project that brings more of a smile to my face than this one, but I vote yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delaus.
On behalf of plane enthusiasts, including my husband, I happily vote yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report on calendar number 9 has been adopted. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 10, concerning 704 Ocean Terrace. This item has been laid over. Calendar number, Borough of Manhattan, calendar number 11, CD3, N160152 RCR. In the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 30 Everton Avenue for adoption on calendar number 11. Chairman Weisbrot.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cerullo.
Yes.
Commissioner Delauss.
Yes.
Commissioner Dweck.
Yes.
Commissioner Edie.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 11 has been adopted. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 10. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 12, CD 8, C160028ZSK. A public hearing in the matter of an application for the grant of a special permit concerning 170 Buffalo Avenue.
First speaker is Eric Plotnick.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. Thank you for taking the time to hear from us today on an application that, as the Chair just mentioned, brings the last one brought a smile to your face. I don't get to ever leave the 5 boroughs so much. I'm not at JFK, but this one brings a great smile to my face. It's 170 Buffalo.
You have a high bar to hit here.
I
I'll tell you that, Mr.
do.
Plotnick.
Well, if I took
Go
more
ahead.
vacations, I think I'd appreciate JFK more. I'm here today on behalf of 170 Buffalo Realty and Centers Healthcare in specific. Centers Healthcare, Specialty Healthcare, is a nursing home organization and rehabilitation services that's done very well within the city of New York and is servicing a great community all over the place in all 5 boroughs. They employ hundreds, if not 1,000 people in facilities all over the city. They're headquartered in the Bronx. They're a hometown company, they're local, and they're doing great things. They currently have a rehabilitation center at 1455 Coney Island Avenue, which was built in an old movie theater that was converted into a rehabilitation center and a nursing home. That's really fallen on harder times. People are crammed in there. It really wasn't built for this specific use, and they've been looking feverishly for a new place for years. They were lucky to find this location at 170 Buffalo, which is between Prospect Place and St. Mark's. It's the former St. Mary's Hospital, for those of you who are familiar with it. It's located immediately next to Concern for Independent Living, which shares the block on a former part of the St. Mary's Hospital complex, which occupies a beautiful old building. That's the Concern for Independent Living. And Centers for Specialty Healthcare purchased this portion of the former St. Mary's Hospital, which is a structure that was built in the 1970s, pursuant to a special permit from the Board of Standards and Appeals, which allowed the former hospital to violate the sky exposure plane by about 10 feet on the left and right side. And St. Mary's Hospital shut down at the premises about 10 years ago. The building has been sitting vacant ever since then and fallen into a huge state of disrepair. It is flanked on other sides in the rear, if I may, just by point of edification, so you know who surrounds us. This is Concern for Independent Living is back here. These two buildings, well, they're not built, they don't look like buildings, but gray areas represent buildings, which are occupied by Promark 1 and Promark 2, which are private condominium developments that are developed as 3-story attached row houses. As you can see, Centers for Specialty Healthcare has the property in the middle, like the donut between the two of them, is controlled by Centers for Specialty Healthcare. And when they purchase the property, there's a restrictive declaration on the property that prohibits anything being built in the rear other than it being utilized for parking. We're not even proposing to utilize it as parking. That's been done as an agreement with the neighbors at Promark 1 and 2 so that there's no disruption with headlights coming into their properties or anybody being back there. I should also mention that we've had resounding great success with the Community Board. Community Planning Board 8 unanimously supported the application. We met with, if I may continue?
2 more sentences.
2 more seconds. I'll be quick.
Use them judiciously.
I'll answer the Commission's questions then yesterday that you had at the review session. The first question was how much parking is required under zoning for quality and affordability. It's the same parking count that's required as is required now. That's 1 per 20 beds. In that case, it would be 15. The proposed beds are 281. So there's 15 parking spaces required under the current zoning as well as under the proposed zoning. The second question is whether any building could be built in this section in the rear. Obviously, just to emphasize that it could not be built back there. This section, you can build a building. There's a lot of floor area that would be left, about 300,000 square feet if zoning for quality and affordability should be passed for long-term care facilities. But there's no intention to build any building in the rear. And any building that would be built back here would have to be set back pretty far because there's a 30-foot requirement under the Rehabilitation Center and Nursing Care regulations that require 30-foot separation between a patient's window and another structure. So it would be controlled by that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Plotnick? Ms. Knight?
So is the Coney Island facility going to be replaced by this one?
Yes, it'll be closed, and
And
this will
so-
replace it.
How many new jobs are going to be created?
There's going to be about 70 to 80 new jobs that are going to be created immediately. Going to employ approximately 250 people. Approximately 180 of the existing jobs, both full and part-time, are going to be offered the opportunity to travel to the new location. We do anticipate some people will not make the move, and some people will choose that opportunity to find another employment closer to their home. Also, as while you bring up jobs, the Commission should be aware, we've worked very closely with the community and with an organization called Dreams Youth Build, which will have an internship program available both during the construction of the project as well as during the operation of it. So both construction jobs and health-related internships will be made available, and that's a community-based organization that's located not too far away. It's called Dreams Youth Build, and those internships opportunities will be made available as well.
Ms. Deluz?
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
I'm just wanted to talk about the green space between the two condominiums, and a couple questions. One is, does your client really anticipate utilizing that space?
No.
Okay. And so one question I have is whether or not your client considered selling it to the adjacent property owners to extend their green space. And I know that there's some ongoing questions about drainage, and if you could just talk a little bit about where that stands right now.
We'd be happy to talk about that and to bring the commissioners up to speed with what we're conversing about is the buildings that were built, the ProMark 1 and 2, which are these two structures right here. I guess I'm stuck at this location. That's ProMark 1 and ProMark 2. They rest at a lower elevation.
Yeah.
That freed me up. They rest at a lower elevation, these two structures here. So this area is almost like a raised platform. It was created by the previous owner that purchased it from St. Mary's Hospital and subsequently developed ProMark 1 and ProMark 2. Through the years, there have been complaints by both of the condominium associations that there is water that is somehow seeping from this section here onto their property. In response to that, Sensors Healthcare, we spent a lot of time with the community board with this, quite a bit of time, meeting with ProMark 1 and 2 in private meetings. Ron Latanza is here as well. He's the civil engineer, who could speak to a little bit more about what I'm about to explain. But basically, we've designed a new system that the whole site is being ripped up. There's actually trucks out there right now doing exploratory work, whereas there'll be a completely new drainage, well-designed drainage system put in place so that every drop of water that falls anywhere on the property will be funneled to a series of stormwater detention tanks, which are going to be installed on the St. Mark side of the property, which is underneath the meditation area, next to an easement that's been granted to ProMark 1 as well at their request, so they could have access to the back of their properties, because the original developer also never gave them access. They had to bring the garbage through their buildings to get to the rear. We've granted them an easement on this side due to reasons that are unknown to us. We granted them an easement in the rear here also so that they can get out on this side as well, and they declined that easement. I think there was an internal discussion between the two entities. ProMark 1 and 2 are separate condo associations. But nonetheless, we have provided the easement to them, and we are capturing all of the rainwater that's on the property. In addition to that, the ownership of the building of Sensors Healthcare is dedicated themselves to helping ProMark 1 and 2 with additional drainage problems that they're having on their property, unrelated to our property, in helping them capture any stormwater runoff that's currently running off of their buildings. They appear to have a substandard dry well stormwater detention system in place, and the discussions have been voluntary. Both the easement is being provided voluntarily to them, as well as creating on their system that would link into our system is what we're exploring right now, that would help capture their rainwater and stormwater on their property. So that's the substance. And judging that I don't see anything here from their organizations, I think we've satisfied them.
So the other question I had is, I mean, considering, and that's all fantastic, and I'm glad those conversations are going on, and I hope that they come to, mutually agreed upon, conclusions on everybody's part. I'm just wondering, though, since it's really not being used, did your client ever consider trying to sell it to the other property owner?
I can't speak on their behalf. I don't think that's a realistic option from the owners of Promark and Promark 2, 1 and 2, to actually purchase it. But we don't intend to really utilize this space. It is meant as just sort of an open area with maybe some passive recreation, but we have the garden area here where we anticipate most of the people will go. Once in a while, maybe, I guess, if a resident or a patient has, young kids come and they want to have a beautiful spring day like this, a picnic back there, that's probably the extent of the activity that would occur back there.
Thank you.
Mr. Knuckles.
Eric, as I'm sure you know, among the findings of 7490 is that the disadvantages to the community imposed by the concentration of nursing homes are outweighed by the benefits. So what would you say, how does this use outweigh, let us say, this site as affordable housing?
Well, in this day and age, it's hard to argue that anything is better than affordable housing, but I'll come up with some good reasons why. First of all, the building is very difficult to be converted into housing the way it's built right now. It would require quite a bit of retrofitting. It would require core going into the building, but physically, it's a very difficult building. It was purpose-built as a hospital. So that's why it adapts to this use so readily. As far as the advantages to the community, I think here, leaps and bounds favorable to the community, just as evidenced by the fact that everybody around us unanimously supports it. Weeksville Heritage Center, which I didn't mention either fully supports it. We intend to create programs with the community on so many different levels. But with Weeksville Heritage, we spoke about bringing children in. They have many youth programs that they have there, bringing them into the facility during holidays and to create mentor relationships with the patients that are in there on a long-term basis so they could have kids come in and converse with them and joke with them and story time and things like that and artistry and things like that. As far as jobs go with the community, it's going to create many well-paying local jobs, both during the construction of it, where we've committed ourselves to trying to source jobs as much as we can locally, as well as bidding it out to minority and women-owned businesses. In addition to that, trying to stay local. During the hiring practices as well, we've agreed with the community board to work very closely with them for that. Concern for independent living, we've also spoken to them, and they service a special needs population, and we've agreed to enter into relationships with them, whereby some of the people that reside within their building can also interact and come into this building and help out with the residents in there on a long-term basis. The community that's around us on either side, which the two buildings, which suffered immensely through the ongoings, the actions of the previous owner, as you were just hearing, this operator has bestowed tons of resources, as you've just heard, to try to solve their problems. So literally, I think, as far as being a good neighbor goes, other than providing affordable housing, which of course is a very laudable and noteworthy achievement that goal that everybody's trying to achieve, in this instance, I think we're second best. We've created something that really is truly looked at favorably by everybody around us, and most of the people around us are benefiting from its creation, not to mention the fact the site's been derelict for 10 years and has had a host of dumping and rodent problems and vagrancies and shootings on the block. It's a very unoccupied block. It's very dormant at night. It's very quiet. There's a vacant lot diagonally across the corner over here.
I got it.
And,
I got
it. All right.
I got it.
Thank you.
Mr. Knuckles is sorry he asked the question. Ms. Ortiz and then Ms. Efron.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
With respect to the open space, again, just for clarification, who would be able to access that space? Is it restricted?
Yes, it's totally, the whole site is a secure zone. Obviously, it's a health-related facility. You can't have people coming in and out unless they're invited or escorted or supposed to be on the property. So everything will be enclosed by a beautifully decorative wrought iron or simulated wrought iron fencing, and you won't be able to get onto the property without being invited on.
So then it's restricted to Promark residents as well? They would
No.
not, they'd be able to see it out their windows, but wouldn't be able to take advantage of it?
Right, just as it is now, though. That's no different. That's how they purchased the property. They've never had access to that. It's not their property. It's never been accessible to them.
And with respect to maintenance, what are the plans for maintaining that? Will it be allowed
It'll-
to sort of
all be maintained
while?
meticulously by Centers Healthcare. It really is a wonderful organization. They take a lot of pride in all of their facilities. I don't want to bore you with the interior decor of the building and how it's built and the materials that are used and the environment that's created, but it's all done to a very high level of standards, and the grounds will be maintained in that same meticulous
There's a
fashion.
plan for maintenance
There's
of
full-
that as a
yes.
sort of cut grass.
There's more than a
Very
plan. There's a full maintenance team that does nothing but
Okay.
maintain the property.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Efron.
Since one of our responsibilities is to make sure that the landscape is favorable to the neighborhood and better than what was there, could you just explain the relationship of ownership between CHC and 170 Buffalo Avenue, and if it's the same entity or?
The same entity, it's a parent company. 170 Buffalo Realty is the entity that actually owns the property. They're a subsidiary of Centers Healthcare Specialty Group, which is the owner and the operator.
So they will have it will be an implied maintenance agreement
It's,
in perpetuity for the maintenance of the shrubbery and whatever else.
so
they do
long
back
as it's
there.
under their control and they're functioning on the property, yes, it'll be beautifully maintained, which we hope will be a very long time.
Thank you.
I don't know about perpetuity.
Well, there will always be
That's-
people who need the services, I assume.
Any other questions for Ms. Plotnick? I would just add that while obviously affordable housing is very, very important, encompassed in the need for shelter is a whole variety of services for seniors and nursing homes being one of many needs of our growing senior population, so. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr.
So I may just add one more thing on that same note, just so you're aware, or operators such as this are very thankful for what the commission has instituted with the long-term care regulations that are coming out. This is a significant hurdle. They've been at this for nearly 4 years while the building is sat vacant. And by the actions you've taken, you're going to eliminate that process. Although my children may not be so happy about it with their summer camp tuition, they will be much happier. And the population you're trying to serve will inextricably benefit from what you've done. So we thank you for that.
Well, go tell it to the city council. It's still before them, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ronald Lazat. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Yes. Good.
Good morning, everyone. Ron Lazat from Mazer Consulting. We are the civil site engineer for the project. I'm here just in case anybody had any additional questions regarding the drainage.
Questions to Mr. Lazat? Hearing none, Mr. Lazat.
Thank you very much.
That was easy.
Got a free ride this morning.
Thank you.
The next speaker is it Gara Galazewski? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Greg? Yes. Okay. Thank you. And Benjamin Diamond? I'll pass that. Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? If not, the hearing is closed. Thank you.
Borough of Queens, calendar number 13, CD 1C050319 MMQ. A public hearing in the matter of an application for an amendment to the city map concerning Socrates Sculpture Park.
The first speaker is from the Department of Parks and Recreation, Jonathan Kuhn. Mr. Kuhn.
Hi, good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you. I'm going to give very quick remarks. I'm the Director of Art and Antiquities for the Parks Department. I've worked for 5 mayors and 5 Parks Commissioners, and I'm so pleased that we're here today to finally make right what we've been talking about for a very long time, and that's the establishment of
Good to
Socrates.
see you still standing this morning.
Yeah, Sculpture Park on the map. I think probably many of you know this vital institution. We have a long-term agreement with Socrates Sculpture Park, a nonprofit cultural entity to manage and program it. They do terrific work. They highlight sculpture, how it's made, how it's shown, how it's received. They do many other programs, which you'll hear a little bit about from them in a moment. We've been engaged for a long time, and we'd like to get married. Just one other thing, and I'll paraphrase one other, if I may paraphrase to the...
Sorry.
That was the wrong beginning for some of our commissioners, Mr. Kuhn, but perhaps not for others. But anyway.
If I may just also
Sure.
paraphrase one candidate for higher office, speaking of another candidate, and they said that we don't need to make Socrates Sculpture Park great again. It is great already, but we do need to make it whole. So I'd like to now introduce Jose Lopez from our planning office, who will walk you through some of the details and how we can make that
Thank you.
happen.
Welcome, Mr. Lopez.
I'm not going to try to match that, but I'll go into the facts. Good morning, Chairman Weisberg and Commissioners. My name is Jose Lopez. I'm the Deputy Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation, Parklands and Real Estate Unit. I am very excited to present to you an application by the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation that has been long in the making, and Jonathan was not kidding about that. So 10 years for us to be able to propose an amendment to the city map that involves the establishment of Socrates Sculpture Park and the elimination of 2 city-owned map-built streets and the establishment of a public place in the Lawrence City neighborhood of Queens Community District 1. The project site, as you can see on the map, is located along the East River waterfront and is bounded by Vernon Boulevard to the east, the Costco Retail Commercial Development to the south, the East River to the west, and to the north, we have some vacant mixed commercial manufacturing uses. Additionally, I would like to point out that there is a site that bisects the park, which currently is being used as a construction yard. The Parks Department definitely have our eyes on acquiring that site, and that is something that we would definitely would like to acquire one day, but it's definitely one of our priorities. The project site includes an area of over 276,000 square feet and includes block 501 lots 1, 16, 31, 60, 11, 112, and block 499 lot 51. The project site is currently zoned R5 and R6. The area within the approximately 600-foot buffer includes a mix of uses, some manufacturing and some residentials, and also includes some uses that have been grandfathered in, such as the Costco site development to the south of the site. DPR has supported the establishment of Socrates Sculpture Park since the mid-1980s. The park was conceived by a local artist who worked with community members to clear the abandoned illegal dumping on the site. And I mean, this is definitely, this park is a true testament to basically that when you get the will from the community and you get resources together, you can definitely turn any site into a beautiful park. The intent, was to create an outdoor working and exhibit space for artists and to provide waterfront space just to the community. And obviously, the area has changed over the years. Originally, it was more a manufacturing area, and today it's more of a residential area. People are definitely making use of the park. Originally, the city had an agreement with a local artist to operate the park, and then the park itself was acquired in 2 separate sections. In 1998, we acquired the main section of the park, which is the larger area, which is this area here. And then in 2003, this section was assigned to the Parks Department. So I'll walk you through action now. So basically, we're proposing to establish the whole entire park on the city map. And it includes the mapping of 2 segments of Bill, unimproved street, which is the broadest mentioned, and the street end of the end of 31st Avenue, which both will be mapped as park, except currently we have lot 31, which is only used by the Socrates Sculpture Park Inn, but it's pursuant to an agreement with the owner of the Costco site. So as part of this action, the city is proposing to transfer the land right from the R5 section in exchange for the city acquiring lot 31 in fee simple. And I would like to also to report back that the Community Board 1 unanimously approved the application, and also the Board of President also issued a favorable recommendation. And I happen to be here during the review session, and Commissioner Ortiz had a question about the connectivity of the existing esplanade on the Costco side to the Socrates Park. So I would like to answer that question. I would like to mention that it's something that the Parks Department really is interested in establishing this connection. We actually have Reade Park to the south of the Costco side. They have a cross line between and Socrates Park. So basically, I mean, we view this as being a critical link. And we definitely want to work in establishing that connection. And the fact that this will be mapped, the city map, and that this area here will be assigned to the Parks Department, jurisdiction and control, that will actually give us the control to work with Socrates Park and to try to come up with some plan and also to secure the funding to be able to build that connection. It's going to be challenging because as part of this action, DEP will reserve like an easement, like a right, to continue having an outfall which runs underneath this area here. And basically, this is almost like a cove-like, and there's like a ditch in this area. So there will have to be some engineering, but I think we can definitely be creative in the future, I mean, to continue improving the waterfront access. And I would just like to mention that about 2 years ago, there was a vision plan that was created in consultation with the community by the Green Shores and the Trust for Public Land that basically looked public access along the whole entire Astoria waterfront. And basically this area was highlighted as being critical connections and links. And we actually have a kayak lounge here that is part of the NYC trail waterway here. So there is definitely ample interest in utilizing the waterfront in this area. And I'll take question at this point.
Thank you. So the impediment, beyond the engineering impediments to creating that continuous esplanade is fundamentally just capital commitment?
Yes, I would say definitely. I mean, we don't have any funding at this point, but definitely, I mean, it's something that is doable. I mean, we have seen connections over assisting outfall along the waterfront in the past, and sometimes you can do like an overlook at the end of the waterfall or the outfall too. So it's definitely something that is possible.
Questions,
Any
Mr.
questions?
Lopez?
I do.
Ms. Deluz?
So, Mr. Lopez, so as part of this action, are there any immediate improvements that are planned to happen at Socrates Sculpture Park?
Yes, actually, the acquisition of Lot 31 is critical to Socrates Sculpture Park. They're proposing to use this property that is currently privately owned to build a building that will serve as part of their office space and also educational and community space. And this application will definitely facilitate that acquisition, and it will help basically add that piece of property to their agreement. So it will give them control over the site pursuant to that agreement.
Thank you.
Ms. Ortiz?
As you consider your capital plan for improvements in the borough, does this potentially make the list? The connection that we were talking about?
I mean, my understanding is that the whole idea behind this is to unify the park. And then also Socrates Sculpture Park will be working on a master plan for the whole entire park. They will be looking what kind of makes sense for the park in terms of uses. And I think, the waterfront connection is something that we definitely have on our radar. And I think, if the opportunity is provided, we definitely will explore. We already have a relationship with the adjacent owner to the south. But I cannot say that's going to be, part of the capital plan currently, because it will have to be part.
At that time when you do your master planning.
Correct. It will have to, and then we'll definitely try to pursue funding for it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cirillo, then Mr. Marin.
Jose, good morning. Just a general question, I guess, which is sort of my interest is piqued on this. Given the really overwhelming support for this, why did it take so long? What occurred over the 20-plus years that didn't make today happen a long time ago? Because
I mean, there's a long history. I mean, I inherited the project, I would say, around 2009. But then, I mean, before, I mean, I think the critical point has been, I mean, as we know, I mean, it's always hard for the Parks Department to find funding to acquire additional land and also even to fund our project. So, I mean, Lot 31 has always been a critical link. So, I mean, behind all this, I mean, there was a lot of technical, research and work that was done. But basically, at one point, the owner was going to donate this lot to the city.
Okay.
Then there was a change in thought, and then we just went back, and then we tried to negotiate, and we had limited funding. And I think that's where the transfer of the development rights, I mean, came up, and then we just tried to be really, really creative, and we just kept pushing all the way along to try to make this happen. I mean, it is a small little piece of property, but it serves as the, I mean, it doesn't matter how big it is, but it's like the entrance to the park. And, to imagine a building right in the entrance to this park, I mean, something I cannot really conceive myself. So that's why it took a while. And then we had some technical issues with the mapping, also the whole iteration map. And the survey actually took a long time because the survey is actually not just for the park, because this was part of the Wine City Commission, I would say it was maybe 1890-something. So like some of the area is now on the city map. So it needed to be surveyed and established on the city map. So, but I'll keep it there.
That's great.
Yeah.
And thank you. And
so.
obviously, the persistence of the department has paid off, and this is a wonderful thing for the community.
And then city planning also telling good stuff was really helpful too.
Great.
So.
Thank you.
Mr. Marin.
Mr. Lopez, thank you for your presentation. One simple question. I know you may not have this as a capital expense on your budget, and you may not know the answer to this question either, but would you happen to know if the community board has actually put it as a capital item on their budget as a request?
I personally don't know, but maybe John Hatchfield, which is the secretary director for Socrates Cultural Park, might know, and he's going to be our next speaker.
Okay.
Yeah. You mean just the waterfront
Just that connection, because
Yeah.
the community boards usually have their capital requests that they submit to the city, and I think it would be helpful if they identified this as a capital request, and then that would put it on your radar as well.
Yeah. I mean, I would just like to mention, since, I mean, it is, a critical link also along the waterfront. I mean, what we need to see, in terms of the kind of feasibility study, I think will need to be done just to make sure that this can happen. I mean, also the idea of a future redevelopment of the site also will necessitate the need for a waterfront esplanade that conforms to the current standards, which will be a larger one. And I think that will also, down the road, will open the opportunity for the city when that site get development communication with city planning to make sure that we get that critical link there, and perhaps get the developer to contribute some funding to it.
Thank you.
Ms. Levin.
The conversation has got me curious about the future of the Costco site. And I imagine in the course of negotiating this very complicated and creative solution to the adjoining property owner, you've learned a lot about Costco's plans. Does Costco own that site, or is it owned by somebody else?
It's owned by Mr. Typen. And they're going to have a lease that expires in 2019. And then Costco has, I guess, a renewal clause for another 20 years, so I think it takes them into 2040. This is something I think that, it's going to be part of the Mr. Typen legacy, I think. So it would be something like down the road in the future. And, just in terms of the massing analysis, I mean, the site itself is already 200,000 plus square feet, so there is a lot of area on the site to begin with. So, I mean, we're just transferring 28,000 square feet, which are approximately, 28 units. So it's not really, it is a transfer, but it's not like, substantially significant. I mean, there's still going to be a lot of area on the site.
But Costco's, they're likely to be there
until 2040.
Until 2040.
I think they're doing great business.
Yeah. It's almost perpetuity in our language. Thank you.
Word of the day.
Ms. Lopez, I know that the park has, as this whole waterfront has suffered from both Sandy and flooding generally, and what steps is there any resiliency program that's now in the capital budget for addressing these issues in the park, especially now that this action is moving along?
I'm not quite aware like of any proposed project. I mean, I think this area during Sandy was tremendously affected. I think because of the shapes and the waves, and then you have these coves here. But I mean, I think our position is, I mean, the parks themselves, I mean, also like resilient in terms of protecting the upland infrastructure. But we don't have like any proposed improvement. I mean, for this park that I know, I'm not sure if John Hatchfield is aware of any discussion I may be having with our capital division. But it's something, I mean, we're looking at I think we're trying to make our parks more resilient, but also, I mean, because they serve, then the park themselves are resilient, so they protect the upland. But for this particular park, I mean, we don't have any current like capital project like, to make it more resilient.
Any other questions, Ms. Lopez? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Next speaker is the aforementioned John Hatfield. I'll just say for the record, a former client of sorts. So, welcome, John.
Thank you, Chairman Weisbrot. And this is a very momentous occasion for Socrates Sculpture Park. Yes, we have been dating for 30 years, so I am advocating for marriage. But just in terms of contextually, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of background on Socrates, because it is one of the most interesting and unique models as an organization in terms of private, nonprofit, and public partnership and cooperation. So as Jonathan Kuhn had mentioned, the park began through an idea, an inspiration with a local artist, Mark DeSuvero, but it quickly gained traction amongst the community to reclaim this derelict piece of land and put it to purpose. So the sort of the DNA of the organization comes from an artistic inspiration coupled with a community sort of need. Fast forwarding 30 years, the park has matured and grown quite a bit. Our primary function and sort of role is to present contemporary art in the public realm, but our social programming has become incredibly diverse and very rich. We partner with 40 other nonprofits to provide this kind of programming. So the kind of programming that we do includes things like an international film festival. We have arts education programs for underserved youth and at-risk teens. We have now piloted recently and expanded direct classroom arts education with the local high schools. We've been doing broadening our partnerships to include things like a works program. So for the past 6-7 years, we've been informally employing people who are out of work in the local area, and now we're formalizing that with another partnership with Upward Bound to kind of make that program a little more sophisticated and grow that program. So, this is sort of an interesting ecology of art and community, and I actually talk about this model quite a bit. I get a call probably once a month from other cities across the country, Buffalo, Nashville, Detroit, I was there recently. How do we do what you do at Socrates so successfully? So this is a culmination. The mapping is critically important for us to evolve the organization and to get beyond some chicken and egg issues. We can't do this unless we do this. To address your question, I think, about why it's taken so long, I think that this has been one of the critical chicken and egg moments of, well, we can't do master planning, we can't do some of the other requests without it being truly mapped. And particularly acquiring the lot that's directly adjacent to the park, which for 30 years has looked like the park, has operated like the park, but in fact is not the park. So this is tremendously important for us in the growth. And if you have any questions, just maybe I want to address a little bit the waterfront. This is a conversation that has been going on for a while. The borough president is very much aware, the Parks Department is very much aware of the issues that were created or actually exacerbated by Sandy. This has not been rip-rapped property, so it has been subject to erosion, and there are some areas of the park that desperately will need to be addressed. In terms of master planning, this is the first step that we think is very critical to secure. And immediately after this, we are concurrently working on proposing a small building that would secure the future of the park in terms of its administration and also its use. We have no indoor space, so the 9,000 kids that we service for our arts education is done entirely outdoors. We rented and have a temporary tent that we heat to allow for classes to occur in non-temperate weather, but that's not a great solution. So ultimately, we would like shortly to construct a small building and then concurrently address some other larger master planning, which clearly the waterfront and accessibility would be priority number one. So following this, those are our intentions to master plan the park.
Let me ask the question that Mr. Miranda asked earlier, and even in a broader sense, which is the community board's interest and commitment to a priority for capital funding, and does that change with the mapping of the park?
It changes in the sense that we will be making explicit requests, capital requests, with the community board, with our city councilperson Jimmy Van Brammer, who's also very aware of the issues here at the park, and the borough president. In fact, the borough president has asked, when will we be submitting? And I think that requires a little bit of visioning with our partners with the Parks Department to get the ball sort of rolling and to get kind of traction. And it is a complicated site because of the private parcels that are involved. So this mapping, again, kind of resolves that chicken and egg kind of planning.
Ms. Efron.
Just to go a little further on that, which is a capital or maybe an ongoing maintenance resource question, will there be a conservancy formed as part of this, or will the foundation serve as a conservancy in that you'd be raising money for ongoing projects on the site?
So Socrates Sculpture Park has a license agreement with the Parks Department to maintain, operate, and program. That has been its entire history. So we fundraise privately to do all of those activities, and we would, project and continue to do that. So in essence, we are a nonprofit. We're not a conservancy, but we, in essence, act as a conservancy. For this upcoming our 30th year anniversary, we are trying to raise additional private funding to match the public funding for a building project.
Given the mapping and given the various relationships that Parks has with conservancies or friends of or whatever, will your relationship with the Parks Department change?
I don't foresee it changing. It may be getting deeper and richer in terms of our cooperation, in terms of dovetailing what Socrates does programmatically and the stewardship of this land with the sort of master planning, larger scale initiatives. So Socrates is not in a position to, for example, do the large scale capital work that's really necessary. So that partnership, I imagine, will get deeper and richer as we enter into some larger scale ambitions. Those ambitions are both out of desire, but I would say they're more critically out of need, particularly the waterfront.
Any other questions, Mr. Hatfield?
One last thing. I do want to thank our partners with the Parks Department. This has been a decades-long conversation. and their perseverance on this matter has been extraordinary, and it's, we're a great benefit, and they are fantastic landlords.
Well, you sort of are up there with the TWA Flight Center, so. So anyway, congratulations to the partnership here. So, any Ms. Horowitz, do you?
I echo John's remarks.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this matter? And hearing none, this hearing is closed. Thank you. And Madam Secretary, is there any other matter to be brought before us
No,
on
Chairman
this beautiful
Weisbrot.
day?
I'll ring my bell.
This hearing is closed. Thank you. Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I guess that was a standing motion.
Everyone's very excited about
Voting with your feet.
adjourning. Thank you.